This is Ion Sullivan. I am your host, Mike McGuire, joined today, as we are each week, by the chairman, Rob Doherty. Rob, good afternoon.
Hey, how are we doing today, Michael?
We're doing fine. Here, the Ion Sullivan family has got a bit of a heavy heart this week with the loss of folks, one of the truly great people, and really partly the reason why good people are shying away from getting involved in politics. Mike Brooks passed suddenly, unexpectedly, of course, this past weekend. And, Rob, what can you say about a guy like Mike Brooks? He's just a first-class individual.
Well, as you know, Mike Brooks and I were very close. We were supposed to go out this Friday and have he said a beer together, but due to the fact that I haven't had a beer in about 20 years, I probably wouldn't have had the beer. And I was looking forward to it. We spent a lot of time together.
He was your vice chair.
He was my vice chair. We debated a lot of issues together.
Sometimes very spirited debates.
Yeah, we had some spirited debates, but that was the one thing I always liked about Mike Brooks, and we could be on polar opposites of an issue and really get after it with each other in pretty confined, areas, and have really tough conversations, and walk out of there, and there was no, forget that guy, and I find that
never,
and I find that's way too much today. It happens in the Republican Party all the time, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Okay, and you disagree with someone in upper management, and then they come after you, like Gary Moss did to me.
Sure.
Okay, and he did it because he didn't like the fact that I support Terry Bernardo in a primary.
Well, they brought in a figurative hitman in Greg Goldstein to see to it that you were taken out because they knew Gary Moss probably would.
Gary Moss, but Gary Moss doesn't have the wherewithal for that. In fact, Gary Moss, who's been a commissioner, who's been a supervisor and on the committee forever, signed one of his own petitions. He signed for his own signature.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
That guy wasn't figuring anything out.
I think it was President Obama that said of Gary Moss, never underestimate his ability to really screw things up.
Oh, he did. But anyway, back to my good friend Mike Brooks.
Yeah.
Mike Brooks is a guy, I have to tell you, that is going to be sorely missed. A good friend of mine had called me. Does Mike Brooks live at this address? I said yes. They're like, oh, we just got a call on the scanner, and my heart sank. I really like Mike Brooks, and it's very tough for me. He was a good guy, and always did the right thing.
Yeah, my memories of Mike, and the show is not all about Mike. Although we invite folks, you want to know more about Mike Brooks, he was a guest here on Ion Sullivan, and you can go back to the archived shows and check him out and see what he stood for. I always saw Mike as that steady hand on the tiller in stormy waters, because stormy waters started on January 1st, 2020, and ended on December 31st of 2023. And it was artificial storms. It was created because the successes that are well documented were there. But Mike was the steady hand. He was the person that, not that any members of your team were unreasonable, but he was a guy that could present the countervailing view in such a way that it was able to be debated and battled.
Oh, I agree. I mean, he was the perfect, yin to my yang. I mean, he was the perfect guy. I mean, together, our record is well established. This current legislature has diminished it greatly, and they're going to continue to diminish it. We will break the tax cap. Mark this one down. I'm telling you right now, we will break the tax cap in this county at least one time in the next 3 years. I'll guarantee you that.
And that's what this county needs is more taxes.
I mean, between the NICEAG issue, which we're going to get into shortly. We're going to get into shortly on that. And taxes. I mean, one of the things I wanted to do when I was in office, and if I had another term and we got, Conklin to come and Brooks made it through and, we had our crew back, we were going to start eliminating sales tax, county tax at age of 72. And then we were going to start working it down and getting it down to 65 over an 8-year plan. And that would have been a big difference to a lot of people in this county.
Sure.
But instead, your taxes are going to keep going up. And, taxes was a major, major issue for me. I fought hard. There was a lot of fights that people didn't understand why I was fighting so hard because there's a lot of things that happen in government that, spring off 5, 6, 7 other reactions. And, everyone doesn't see that far down the road. But, with a great staff, with the Nancy Buck, with the Josh Potosik, with an Angela Chevalier, you get to see those things coming down the road. One of the reasons why we settled all 8 contracts, which has never been done before, was because labor is your number one cost in county government.
Well, it was started off by saying that that Mike Brooks is really the poster person for why nice people won't run for office.
That is correct.
Because here's a guy that was absolutely open to all different ideas. He had one objective in mind, was to move the county forward.
Correct.
Bring broadband to
Correct.
the underserved areas. He worked tirelessly at that, and he was abused. He was mocked. We had people that tried to take his full-time job away from him.
Based on lies.
And we had people like Dick Coombe that wanted to drum him out of the town of Neversink political machine.
Well, now that you touched on that, he wasn't even given petitions to run as a committeeman on the Neversink committee on this time around.
By Dick Coombe.
By Dick Coombe. Well, Dick Coombe is a puppet master, yes.
He's a puppet master.
Yeah, so by Dick Coombe, you're correct. He didn't even get petitions to run for his seat that he's had for 20 years.
So, we got to add Dick's name to the list of moles within the Republican Party that have really worked against the Republican Party. I mean, is it true that Dick Coombe wanted to put a Democrat in as chair of the legislature when the Republicans had a 7-2 majority?
Correct. So when we came in, we had a big dinner at his house. We were obviously all elected at that point in time, but we're not sat, so we were allowed to.
So it's that period between November and December.
Correct. So we're allowed to be together at that point in time. We had a big dinner at his house. Lovely home. His wife Penny was absolutely lovely.
Lovely people.
He had some of his top flight beef, for dinner. I mean, everything was pleasant. But we went around the table and we were like, who wants to be chair? And he was pushing for Nadia.
Nadia.
He was pushing for Nadia.
The current chair.
The current chair, who's doing a miserable job, by the way.
And she realizes she's doing a miserable job.
Oh, I got some stories for you on that. And I was like, Dick, she is a Democrat. We have a 7-2 majority.
Right.
Why would we ever give up power to? You ever notice this when Dick Coombe, who's in charge of the Uniparty, by the way?
Correct.
Whenever they make
hopefully he'll do for the Uniparty what he did for the Republican Party.
Yeah, we're hoping. So whenever they make a deal, the Republicans never get the seat.
They lose.
I'm sitting there like, I feel like Charlie Brown every time they make a deal, right? Because we always lose. I mean, we never ever get the seat. I mean, they want to get rid of me. Okay, you want to get rid of me for being a proud Republican who did Republican things? Because Gary Moss didn't like the way I voted, and I'm not saying that as hyperbole. Mm-hmm. That's what he told me.
Correct.
Okay, he told me that straight out. Okay, and Greg Goldstein, interview on WJFF right after the election is documented. It's archived. You can put it in your little phone there. Mm-hmm. Put Greg Goldstein, WJFF, November election. It'll come right up.
It'll come right up,
and they'll tell you. And he says, committeeman, Tom Bowes, another committeeman, brought me in to get rid of Rob Dart. He says it flat out.
Right. Well,
this
a guy like Mike Brooks is going to be missed. Not only as a legislator, he was a town board member, and he was the president of the school board out in Tri-Valley for many years.
He was on that board for 12 years.
And he was so well respected. I happened to have been a school board member at the same time that Mike was.
So was my wife.
And so was your wife. Mm-hmm. And so we got an opportunity to work with him from different boards, and he was so well respected and so well thought of.
The greatest guy.
It's been said that if you want to know about someone's character, just tell me whether or not they liked Mike Brooks or not.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
You tell me how they felt about Mike Brooks, I'll tell you all you need to know about that person.
Well, to Mike, you will be missed. Your insights will be missed. Your contributions will be missed. And your personality, your very early lunches will all be missed. And to Donna and Mike's daughter, our condolences go out to them. On behalf of everyone here associated with Ion Sullivan, we wish you peace, and that Mike rest in peace. He has earned that. And now, Cat Scott doesn't have anybody to disparage, I guess.
Well, I watched the executive committee 2 weeks ago.
Right.
One of the things that she had said in her campaign materials that she wanted to bring civility, right, to which she has not done, because she used to yell from the audience.
Well, she was the lack of civility.
Yeah, she was the lack of civility. She was the one yelling in the audience. But now she's just yelling up front.
Yeah.
And if you watch the executive committee meeting from 2 weeks ago, you could see it. It is on full display. It is.
Cat Scott bringing civility is like the Iceman bringing heat.
It
just doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen because, look, we just discussed this. It's from the 320 Sullivan County Legislative Executive Committee.
Okay.
You could just turn it on. It's a long meeting. You can just go to minute 59 and 53 seconds, pick it up from there, and you can see the whole thing. You
can see the civility return.
Yeah, you can see the civility return to the county. It goes on long before that. But the problem, what I just described about Mike Brooks, and I had the same conversations with George Conklin, and I had them with Alan Sorensen, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Pretty tough conversations, and you go round and round, right? And, there was times I drove to Alan's house to argue a point with him, right? Jane was like, "Come on in," sitting there.
The nicest person.
The nicest person alive. And you're sitting there arguing a point, okay? And you can disagree without hating the person. It's not personal. And you always find a way to make it so that everyone's happy, right? So everyone's, there's a rule in negotiating. You don't stop until both people are unhappy. Right. It's, obviously that's not your goal, but the goal is that both people can accept, where we're at, and you can move forward from there. And that was the one thing I loved about Mike Brooks. And that's the one thing, my biggest criticism. How many hours did I spend with Cat Scott going over topics with her? After session was over, and I would just sit there and I would go over issue after issue after issue. There's only one thing worse than being wrong: getting new facts that are contrary to your opinion and staying wrong. Okay, that
just shows that you don't have an open mind.
No, you don't.
Your mind is made up, and it's made up not because of how you view the facts, but it's made up because of what your agenda is. It has to fit your narrative.
Correct.
And that's what it's all about. Well, we started off last episode of Ion Sullivan, giving report cards out on the current legislators.
And now, if I'm not mistaken, we're giving them out against what they said they were going to do.
Right. So, again, just the ground rules here. Okay. Last week, we took Cat Scott, Legislator Scott's campaign brochure.
Correct.
And we went through. This is what she said she was going to do.
Correct.
And this is where we're at now. Granted, we're only 1 year into a 4-year term. We're about a year and a half into it. And, let's face it, folks, in the 4th year, there's not a lot getting done.
No.
You've really got 3 years to make it happen.
The funny thing about that, I remember legislators who had been there, for a term before me used to say to me all the time, well, nothing really gets done. And I said, I got elected for 4 years.
4 years.
I'm going to keep going to the last day.
And you did.
And I did.
And you did. In fact, I'll bring it up. On the last day, you and the dearly departed had a bit of a falling out because of a disagreement. And I think that that's significant because some of the really narrow-minded legislators, some of which are still there, used to refer to the 4 other Republicans as 4 blind mice. Following you blindly.
They were those little, I forgot what they're called, those little yellow characters. I forgot what they're called. Maybe the producer knows what they are.
Minions?
Minions, that's it. Minions, that's it. Oh, you have grandchildren, so you
that's
know.
Right. Yeah.
So Minions.
And I remember the very last meeting was a real knockdown drag-out with Mike Brooks because he didn't see the vote the same way you did. And your rule was there was no horse trading.
There's no horse trading.
These are the votes. This is why I believe as a conference, as a group, we should support it. But in most of the big votes, it was not a group of 5 going blind.
No, not at all. I mean, the nursing home got moved on an 8-1 vote.
And that was George Conklin voted a different way.
Yeah. No. That was Louis on that one, but then to put it into a
right. To move it to which of the operators?
With the operators was on an 8-1 vote, and then on another vote it was 7-2 was Conklin because his mom is up in Roscoe, and Louis was negative on both of them, which is fine. He has the right to do that.
The redistricting maps.
They. I forgot how that vote went, but the point being is
they didn't vote for the map that you had advocated for.
Oh no, not at all.
And that's not the map that we used.
No. So just so everyone knows, I had a rule that I stuck to hard and fast. That was there's no horse trading on votes. Okay,
right.
Everything rises and falls on its single. On
merits of that
of that issue, and if it fails. It fails. And I remember the first time a big vote failed and, I lost. And Ira, who sat to the right of me at the end of the session comes over and says, hey, sorry about that, bud. I saw it a different way. And I said, Ira, I have no problem with that. If this is what the conference wants, this is what the conference wants.
Right.
And I never got mad about people voting a certain way except for one time.
Right.
I did not I did not want to put the $1 million tax on people on our last vote. It was our actual.
It was the last day.
It was the last vote.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on now. In no particular order, we'll take up Matt McPhillips.
Sure.
You familiar with Matt?
I know Matt.
All right. So I spent some time going through his.
The funny thing is, a lot of people don't know Matt.
Well, a lot of people don't.
All right.
It's a matter of which Matt you know.
Correct.
So I took some time over the last couple of days going through his campaign literature. Again, for our audience benefit, you go ahead and Google Matt McPhillips campaign.
Correct.
And you will get his literature. We're not making this up. We bring the receipts. This is his words, not what we're putting to him.
Correct.
And it starts off with, I believe that we can do better. Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably true today.
Correct. Well, that would be easy to do today. Correct.
Easy to do today. Again, folks, part of what we try to do here on Eye on Sullivan is elevate your awareness to the advertising literature that gets put out. Because I don't know what that means. I believe that we can do better. Well, okay, no one's going to disagree with that. But that doesn't tell you what we think we can do better at.
Correct.
So the next line says, we can move forward and protect everything that makes our county such a great place to live. Well, if our county is a great place to live, we've attained a pretty good situation.
Correct.
And indeed, when he wrote those words, we had attained a pretty good situation.
Apparently, affordability was not one of the issues
Correct.
that makes it a great place to live.
Correct.
Okay, because as a manager for NYSEG, okay, he has done some pretty horrendous things, raising people's rates. Okay, he's recused himself from a vote on the last executive committee, but he did something worse than that. Okay, I understand that's your full-time job and you don't care that much about your constituents. I get that part. Okay,
That's okay, because he's really concerned with his resume. Not
correct.
his
So he's been conflicted on a lot of stuff.
Right.
All right. He was made the chair of the Economic Development Committee. He then, I believe, in his first meeting, gave the company his wife works for $100,000. He tried to give,
which means puts money in his pocket.
correct. He then tried to give his campaign manager $40,000 to organize all the different economic
Development
development agencies, right? I try not to use the word agency, but that's what they are.
Right. The IDA, the partnership.
Yeah, all those little
Right.
guys there, right? So different like the Barryville Chamber of Commerce, Sullivan County Chamber of Commerce. The person was supposed to organize them all. He offered him $40,000 to do the job, right? And he says, "Oh no. I have the resolution number. If you want the resolution number, I have the resolution number." So stop with that, okay? So apparently affordability is not part of what makes this county great. But here's the worst part that he did on that day on 3/20. He recused himself from the vote, okay, because he works for NYSEG. He's a manager for NYSEG.
Right.
Okay. But before he recused himself, so we all know how this works, okay? So when you're a legislature, right? So when you're a legislator, as my good friend Mike Brooks used to say all the time, he would emphasize the tour. You have the material long before everyone else has the material.
At least 4 or 5 days before.
Correct. So when they say, "Oh, I didn't get it," that's a complete, absolute fake lie.
And he makes sure.
Okay,
got it.
you have the material. Okay.
You have to open your email sometimes.
yeah, I know the dog ate your homework. I got it. Right. Okay. So what happened with that was, he said he got it from another legislator, which is not true. He was given it through Annie, who is the secretary for, not the secretary, is the what would her title?
She's the clerk.
The clerk for the legislature,
clerk.
right? So he had gotten it that way. So when it was still confidential,
Hadn't been released to the public yet.
has not been released to the public yet.
That happens usually on Tuesday for a Thursday meeting.
So now I got the resolutions today for Thursday's meeting.
Tuesday.
Correct.
For Thursday.
But they get them on Friday.
On Friday.
Okay, so you have the weekend to go over them, peruse them, all that fun stuff.
Or not.
He sent that to his coworker that does the same job he does in lower Hudson Valley in Westchester. He sent that to him, and then that person fires off an email to Legislator Bernardo, who was putting up the resolution to stop the next increase that's coming up for NYSEG. So he took confidential information that would hurt his company,
right?
If it stopped, but help his constituents if it goes through, and tried to peddle off confidential information.
Now, he didn't peddle off the confidential information publicly.
No.
But so publicly he recused himself. See, folks, politicians, publicly, I've got an inherent conflict. I can't vote on this. But privately, he was sowing the seeds of trading on insider information.
Correct. I mean, I got more stories on. Well, let's go through
get
stuff.
there. So he says we want to move forward. We want to protect everything that makes our county such a great place to live. Protect everything. You only protect what you have. You don't protect what you don't have.
Correct.
But one of the things that the county had when he wrote this in 2023 was financial stability.
One of 3 counties in the state of New York.
And that's a pretty important thing to protect from the county's standpoint.
Correct. And that is your job. You have to remember, okay? You don't work for a town, you don't work for a village, you don't work for the state, and you don't worry about your employer.
Right.
Your job as a legislator is to work for your constituents in the county.
Within the county.
That's your job.
Right. So if protecting the financial security and stability of the county, it's the only thing I can see that it certainly means, you left an $87 million fund balance that was acquired over 4 years, accumulated over 4 years. And in 1 year, that's been cut
less than half.
Less than half.
Correct.
Less than half of that $87 million is left.
Correct.
As a fund balance. And that's with, be clear again, folks, remember, they're going to try to hit you with dodges.
Correct.
This was the budget that your legislature passed.
Correct.
So it's not like they came in and had this budget problem and had to use fund balance, which is, anybody that knows about municipal finance would never touch that with a 10-foot pole. This was additional spending. They couldn't wait to get in there and start spending, and that's what they did.
That's correct. So they had a budget, that was a pretty, conservative budget. Mm-hmm. In fact, the budgeted sales tax was $3 million under budget. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they had $3 million more. Okay, they still spent over $40 million. They raised the rates, on garbage, on the tipping fees by so much, by $30 a ton, when their fees went up by $11 a ton. So they basically stole $1.9 million from the taxpayer. And that goes to everyone, because I want you to understand this. It's not just, it's the homeowners. No, let's say you live in Evergreen, mm-hmm. right? And the Village of Monticello picks up your garbage, mm-hmm. okay? They still have to dump it.
Sure.
Okay? They still have to raise their fees now more. And that's what it hurts everybody. So your common charges mm-hmm. just went higher. So let's say your rent is, $200, right? Now that's going to have to go up to reflect the increase. So they had, $4.9 million more mm-hmm. than that was in the budget, and they still
spent an extra $40 million or so.
Correct.
Now, I spent a lot of time driving around the county, practicing law, and one of the real touchstones, and I recall this even from the debate that Mr. McPhillips had, Legislator McPhillips had, was that he was going to bring affordable housing to the county. It's interesting because he's not doing anything for affordable residences by... We've got electric bills that are eclipsing $1,000 a month.
So I left $250,000. Right. People don't know. I left more than that. I believe it was $2 million. I left to pursue affordable housing.
Right.
Okay. I left that money there for mm-hmm. them, okay? That was in my budget, okay?
Right.
So when they sit there and say, we have this money to go... No, I left it there. I'm the one that okayed it and put it in the budget, okay? Right. Trust me when I tell you on this, folks. Nothing happened in the budget unless Josh said, Rob, what do you think about this, okay? That's how it works, mm-hmm. okay? Me and Josh were like this at budget time. Yeah. I mean, I was in meeting after meeting after meeting. A lot of times he'd be like, you don't need to be in this one because it's just, into office stuff. But,
No, you were there.
We were there. We went through, everything. So I had a full understanding of what was happening. I left that money there, okay? And they've done nothing with it. 16 months later, they still have done nothing with that money.
I see some construction going on around Waverly Avenue in Monticello, and I see
mm-hmm.
some construction going on here in Liberty, but I don't see anything that's designated as affordable housing.
No. And
what's going to bring it right to Bethel?
Oh, yeah, bring it on. Where you going to put it?
Yeah.
Where you going to put it? I mean, you have to understand the water table in Bethel also, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know where you're going to put it. You have a group in Bethel right now comprised of some of my friends. that's not completely wrong in what they're saying, okay? And I don't mean to diminish them by saying that, but they go after everyone, okay?
Right.
I mean, let's get this straight.
They're equal opportunity.
They don't care. They go after everyone.
Right.
And, they're talking about putting a storage unit at the end of Pine Grove and 17B.
Okay.
There'll be 50 people at that meeting, maybe 60 people at that meeting, right? They come out for everything because they truly want to preserve our way of life.
Open spaces.
Okay? They want to, that's not what Matt's saying, okay? Right. Matt's saying, I want to create affordable housing. Then towards the end of the campaign, he switched that to workforce housing.
Yeah, workforce housing.
Okay? And then he shows a picture of behind ShopRite.
Right.
Which is affordable housing.
Correct.
All right? And you're going to bring that to Bethel? I mean, where are they going to work? Where are they going to go? How do they get to school? How do these people survive here? And now with electric rates, what's affordable anymore?
Well, you got what was once a mortgage payment is now your electric bill.
Well, here's the funny thing about that. As a businessman, I own several businesses.
Right.
And I own, my home and, another, several other homes. But the point being is I'm responsible for 7 electric bills.
Right.
Okay? My electric bills used to be for 7 places, under $3,000 a month. Last month, I paid $7,000 in electric bills.
Yeah.
Okay? $7,000. They more than doubled.
Yeah.
Okay? So that comes, if you do that, 12 times, I mean, that's quite a chunk of change of coming out of pure profit money. I mean, you can't write that off. You can't, you have a problem there.
So what has been achieved in 16 months with respect to bringing affordable housing? And do we need affordable housing or do we need better paying jobs?
See, it all comes down to better paying jobs, okay? Everything else is just poppycock. Let me get this out as fast as I can. Under Matt, PepsiCo closed here.
Correct.
Okay? He's the guy in charge. So I left him a 2.4% unemployment rate, the lowest.
That's right.
In the Hudson Valley. We currently have the highest in the Hudson Valley.
PepsiCo is going, and Formaggio may not be far behind because they're getting no cooperation from the county or the town, and they're at a point where their water is such an issue in the town of Fallsburg that they may not be able to produce food in that facility. They may
have to bring in water.
Well, they'd bring in moving trucks is what they're going to bring in.
Yeah, that's what they're going to
bring in because they can go, there's communities, their arms are wide open for their 390 employees in Pennsylvania.
Oh, begging. And let me tell you what happens in Pennsylvania. People are like, oh, why do we always lose to Pennsylvania? Let me tell you how Pennsylvania does it here, folks. 1, they have the space, okay? 2, they have the electrical upgrades, okay? I know for a fact in this building alone, the owner of this building that we're in right now, the Liberty Theater, downtown Liberty, that put millions of dollars of his own money in.
He did.
Is trying to put a unit downstairs, a restaurant downstairs, and he cannot get the proper electricity brought to the building. Okay?
And the remarkable thing is that one of the decision makers is on the town board with him.
Correct.
They want economic development in the dark.
In the dark, okay? So it's asinine. So what Pennsylvania does is they give you back the money. So they entice you to come. And just so we all know how this works, and they give you payroll credits, okay? So what are payroll credits? So they say, we're going to give you $10 million in payroll credits. So when you're paying your payroll tax, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and trust me, they come and get it. If you don't pay it, they come and get it, okay? There's no ducking, it's right up there with sales tax. They want to know where their money is. So now, when you get a $10 million credit, that means that you don't have to pay up to $10 million. So as you're going through it usually takes a couple of years to get through that kind of money on an organization like that, you get to keep that money. So they're basically paying you $10 million to move somewhere. And you're like, wait, I have no problems with water. I have no problem with electricity. I have no problem with codes and all this other stuff, and
Traffic and parking and all of that.
and they want me here.
Right.
They want me here.
Right.
Okay. So why not go?
They've got their own workforce housing, that company,
Correct.
and they want to build more workforce housing because we're on Mr. McPhillips, who used the term workforce housing.
He did.
And they can't. Why? Because the sewer line is about 40 feet short of where they need it to be. So they need to be connected to town sewer, and they can't. And the town has said, we can't help you.
Can't help you.
Can you help us move?
Thanks.
Thanks.
But no thanks.
Thanks.
Okay?
And by the way, thanks for the taxes. Thanks for the 400 jobs. And
I mean, you have to understand this company started basically in a garage.
In a garage.
Right. I mean, it started as a very tiny company, and the Anthony and his brothers busted their butt to make this company
they
happen.
still bust their butt.
Okay, let me tell you, this is an American, dream story.
Success story.
I mean, it is.
A couple of guys from Brooklyn.
A couple
make
guys,
it big.
Came up with an idea, and it works.
It
okay,
works.
and they work their tails off. Okay, and to say that they're going to leave because we can't figure out how to extend a sewer line 40
to
feet.
accommodate workforce housing, which is supposedly the centerpiece of this legislator's agenda.
Oh, no, that's not the centerpiece of his agenda.
Well,
Trust me.
he's the centerpiece of his agenda.
You are correct.
All right, let's continue with Mr. McPhillips. The next one I had to read 2 or 3 times because I was wondering, has he leapfrogged and forgot what office he was seeking? Did he think that now he's seeking a run for Congress? Because he says he wants all families to have access to quality health care. What does the county legislature have to do with giving families access to quality health care?
Well, maybe I should ask him his position on, abortion and handguns, because he has nothing to do with either one of them.
That's
so,
true.
so let's talk about health care while we're at it too.
Yeah.
You have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Okay. You have ways, to deal with the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can really, really change some things, but you're going to get a 5-6 point movement on that. Okay, you won't be worst or next to worst. You'll be, in the pack of the mid 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's the best you can do, because at the end of the day, it's an economic issue. I mean, it really is an economic issue. Now, if you don't believe me, look at the counties that are on the top. All the MTA counties are in the top 20 counties, and the other counties are just monster counties upstate.
Well,
New
and
York.
given where this county is, and you touched on it last week, where you compared Putnam County's Medicare bill to our Medicare bill, reality is that given the number of folks in this county that are getting health care through the state of New York, they've got the best health care you can get. They have better health care than the county manager has.
I pay $2,300 a month because I'm a private businessman,
Right.
and they have better health care than I have.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what he thinks as a legislator he's going to do, but I know what he thought here is he's clearly pandering, folks. He's pandering. He uses that national catchphrase, quality health care is a basic human right. Well, that can be debated whether it is in fact a basic human right, but we can't debate that the Sullivan County Legislature has no authority to deal with access to quality health care.
Zero.
And we've seen states try it, doesn't work. And we have seen the federal government try it, and it worked to a point. And then he marries quality health care with the health rankings, which tell you that he really doesn't even understand where the health rankings come from, but he's, again, pandering.
Well, he's pandering because that's what he does.
Right.
Okay? I mean, his whole gig, he's trained for this.
Right.
I mean, the fact that he was never in the armed services is his only blotch on his resume.
Right.
Because everything else is lining up for that.
Right.
I remember one time, back when, Rush Limbaugh was alive, and, it was during Trump's first term, and they were talking about income taxes, and Rush made this excellent point, as he always did, was the reason why these politicians can hand over their tax returns so quickly and easily. They're designed to be this way.
Right.
They're built to be this way from day one.
Sure.
You know, I mean, they took one committee and they split it in two and made Matt the chair of both. Okay, so that he was in charge of one committee. He's in charge of two committees. Even though he has to recuse himself consistently from votes
in economic
development because his wife is involved in her company is involved in almost everything, but he never gives his opinion on stuff.
And his mom either used to work or still works for the IDA's attorney.
That is correct, and she used to work for Alan Gary.
And worked for Alan Gary.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
In his diatribe on healthcare, and it's truly just a mixed.
Well, hold on. I just want to say we all do want better healthcare.
No
okay?
question.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. Okay, we you know, I'm on the exchange. I mean, that's how my family gets it. You know, it is very effective. But what a county of 78,000 people is going to do to affect that is
very little.
Is less than a speck.
It's not even measurable.
It's not a grain to sand on a beach.
So then he gives us maybe a measurable objective. They want to fund youth activities.
Okay.
Any new youth activities being funded?
Or was there anything that we no more than that were already being done?
It was already being done. I used to get the stack from youth services every year of contracts, and Mike Taylor had some stuff going on with the ski hill, and we had some youth football, and we had some art and crafts types of activities, and they had all kinds of things.
Trust me when I tell you this, Laura Quigley is not going to hold back on anything.
No.
For the children of this county.
Correct.
Okay, and that's who runs the show on that.
Correct.
Okay, let's all cut the crap out. Laura Quigley drives the bus on youth activities in this county, and nobody does a better job than her. Nobody.
And I vividly recall your initiative to develop and build a recreation center on the campus of SUNY Sullivan.
Correct.
That could be used both to enhance the student life, but mostly be used for a community location where we could have youth sports and gymnastics and volleyball and basketball, all kinds of things going on.
But also,
and track and wrestling.
But also, you know, kind of like a latchkey program on steroids,
right.
Okay?
Right.
You know, where kids would learn about nutrition, kids would, get help with their homework, kids would get computer skills, kids would get ready for, to become better students.
And situated at the college, you'd have college students that could be mentors.
Correct.
It could get college credit for it.
Correct.
It was a great system. Few of the current legislators were vehemently opposed to it.
Correct.
It wound up not going on. One of the regulars at the public comments, he owned the piece of land that we wanted to get, but he priced it out of the market.
Oh, no. He tried to get us into a bidding war.
That's what he really did. He brought us in to create a bidding war.
Correct. And I said, I'm not playing this game.
Right.
And one of the people involved in it on the college side said, oh, why don't you use my wife? She's the real estate agent on the thing. The old wink and nod we got going on here in Sullivan County that I'm so much against. Well, I'm going to give you a little fact that the public doesn't know about.
Yep.
Okay, a little inside
but
baseball.
They will now because they listen to Ion Sullivan.
Correct. So this current legislature did a study, hired a company, did a study on whether we needed a convention center or not. Okay. They came back and said, you don't need a convention center, but what you do need is a youth center. So everything I was saying last time,
correct.
They paid someone to tell them that, and I did it for free.
Right.
I told you.
2 years in advance.
Oh, let me tell you, people come up to me all the time, and maybe I wasn't the friendliest with them when I was in office, and they walk up to me in Walmart and other places, and they say, I agree with you on this, but man, you were right. A lot of the things you said, you are right about.
So we're talking about funding youth activities with virtually no facilities.
Correct.
Probably one of the only counties in the state that doesn't have an indoor pool.
Correct.
And then people jump on me and tell me, oh, we have an indoor pool, yada, yada, yada.
You don't have an
We have a small pool, very small pool at the casino that you can't really get into. We don't have a place where you could have a swim meet, a diving meet. We don't have a place where you could be teaching lifeguarding classes and
Let me tell you, so Section 9 just lost, one of the biggest in-season wrestling tournament in the country, okay? People from trying to get into that tournament was nearly impossible. Teams came from California, teams came from Pennsylvania, teams came from Massachusetts, up and down the Eastern Seaboard. They came to there. We just lost that because the facility wasn't big enough.
Well, and the college also made some decisions internally.
Correct.
To shut down essentially the athletic program with no comment from the legislature.
Nothing.
From the people that want to fund youth activities, you just lost the facility where we have basketball and track and field and wrestling and volleyball.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
And didn't say a word.
They
Not
didn't
a word.
say a word. Not a word.
Not a word. Now you know something about the college, right?
I think I've been over there a few times.
Okay. I believe you know something about the basketball program
I
over
do.
there.
I do.
You were the announcer, right?
I was the announcer recently, yeah.
Oh, recently? What'd you do before, Mike?
I was involved in building the program that won 3 national championships.
3 national champions,
Yeah, right.
little old Sullivan County.
Little old Sullivan County. Didn't hit Red Auerbach numbers yet, but we were on our way.
Many don't.
Many try.
But the point being is you understood what needed to be done there.
Well, and I understood that when we had those great teams, we packed that place. We had no dorms, so it wasn't packed with students. It was packed with community people. We had 300 children, school-age children, in our Saturday morning program that would come in and get coached by the players, and the players would do birthday parties there with the kids, and then the kids would play a mini game at halftime. So we packed that place with community members to create something exciting in the community.
Is that true that you used to sell season tickets to?
We sold season tickets. We had over 200 season ticket holders.
And
Every year they came in and wrote a check for season. We never gave tickets away. They had to pay at the door or buy a season ticket.
And that was at little old Sullivan County Community.
Little old Sullivan County Community College.
And now we have this much basketball going on over there.
Well, they were 1-18 this year.
1-18. There you go.
Yeah, and the women's team only played half a season and couldn't field the team.
Couldn't field the team.
Yeah, if they're going to a national tournament the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we have a legislature.
I'm
that said
sorry.
nothing about
And what did the legislature say about that?
Not a word.
Okay.
Not a word. It wasn't important, but yet one of the pillars of Matt McPhillips' campaign literature was he wants to fund youth activities. I'm not sure he really understands what that is. Moving along, he wants to help fight the opioid epidemic. Now, again, they conjured up a lot of fake stuff about your handling of the opioid epidemic. But it was you that understood the various dimensions of the opioid epidemic and saw to it that money had to be put into prevention.
Correct.
And had to be put into deterrence, law enforcement, and had to be put into safe streets and into treatment.
Correct.
And
So Wendy Brown, I was one of the 3 people that started the drug task force.
Right. Yep.
It was myself, Wendy Brown, and the Honorable Megan Galligan.
Yep.
She was DA at the time.
Now Supreme Court judge.
Now Supreme Court judge.
Doing a great job.
We met so many hours, my head hurts thinking about it. And that was one of the things that we pushed in that, was that this is not just, a treatment issue, okay? Let's get into the treatment part of it. The only in-person treatment facility in this county, okay, is about to close.
About to close, but with a really good roof.
Oh yeah. So they're gonna close. Lexington, I believe, is either closed or close to closing.
Close. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So everything that we had brought in 15 months, they have failed to sustain.
Right.
Okay.
And Prime Care, who runs the opioid program in the jail, there's a fair number of people in the jail who have opioid problems They routinely run out of the medication there, and I don't see the legislature maybe not even being aware of it.
No, not are they not aware of it. They don't care.
They don't care.
I mean, it's easy to put this stuff on paper and say, they're not there grinding it out, figuring these things out. You go up to Wendy Brown today and you ask her, how was Rob Doherty, involved in the drug, in the war on opioids? I mean, she'll carry on about it forever. And there's a person who I respect. But we don't agree on every issue, okay? But we can agree on certain issues and then really foster, our teamwork on those issues.
Yep. Well, the under opioid epidemic, again, I'm not sure he knows what job he was seeking here. And these are the kinds of things, folks, you've got to look at when you get bombarded in your mailbox. He's talking about food security. Now, we touched on this a little bit with plastic bottles, and they were going to convince Coca-Cola and Pepsi to not sell their products in plastic bottles.
Correct.
Which would mean that you could drive around the county and not buy a Coke or a Pepsi.
Correct.
Food security, what does the legislature do in terms of food security, other than in restaurants we have a Department of Health? But that's not the county, that's the state.
That's the state of New York. So we do bupkis, okay? So his claim to fame is that he worked in Monticello, at the thing that I forgot the name of the organization. But what I can tell you is, so we were at a meeting one day of all the food pantries. Denise Frangipani had put together. It was a great meeting. It was in Liberty. It was a great meeting. Because a lot of people didn't know other people were operating in the same town.
Sure.
And people really, got to see other resources. So I thought it was a fabulous meeting. But the person who runs the operation over there in Monticello was talking about how great Matt was doing, blah, blah, blah. And then I started to speak. I was the sitting chairman of the legislature at the time. Oh, and by the way, I haven't seen any pictures of Matt working there since the campaign's been over.
But they achieved the objective.
Oh, okay.
Not to do away with hunger.
Okay.
But to get elected.
Okay. So, and then she's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "I own Carmine's Meat Market." Silence. Because she knows what Carmen and I do for the people of Monticello and food security. They understand what we do.
So
I don't need to blow a bullhorn about it.
Right. There's so much in this, and I invite all of our audience to go check it out for yourself. I'm not making this up. Economic development. Under economic development, he talks about improving infrastructure to create sustainable development. Now, I don't even know what that means. Is he talking about roads? Is he talking about water? Is he talking about sewer? Because you're not creating sustainable development in where Formaggio needs to get additional sewer so that they can build workforce housing, so that they can continue to have a 400-person workforce. I don't know what that means, but certainly economic development is important to him because his wife works for the partnership.
Correct. And gets funded by the legislature.
Yeah. So when you talk about improve infrastructure to create sustainable development, maybe we're talking about doing away with the quicksand pits that we have so that the buildings, when they're built, will stay up.
Well, that's funny that he mentions that, but then you have a company like Formaggio that needs 40 feet of a sewer line, and we're not getting it.
We're not getting it.
And they're going to leave.
They're going to leave.
They're going to leave.
They're going to leave. Because between the water and sewer, you talk to Walter Grigliano, he says every time, every development starts at two things, water and sewer.
Correct.
If you don't have it, you don't build.
And meanwhile, under his regime, PepsiCo, we're losing 300-plus jobs there.
Gone. And the Village of Liberty is going to have a nice big hole in it.
Oh, and by the way, all the little stores, all the people seeking the American dream to support that workforce, when people don't have money.
I think Sullivan County has experienced that once before. When the hotel industry went south, literally,
correct,
the county was left with lots of businesses and restaurants that were built to support the hotel industry.
Correct.
Now there was no hotel industry. You had commercial laundries, and you had places like Zakaren that had supplies.
Well, they've made a nice rebound. They've really worked hard, and they have a nice little business going there.
They do have a nice little business because they've been able to change. And then the last piece we're going to touch on is remarkable. And again, to our audience, you get these things in the mailbox. They're plants for you to believe something that is not accurate. He wants to be civil, transparent, and accountable. So I'm sure that he will probably, my phone or your phone will ring tonight, thanking us for being transparent in terms of his inherent conflict between NYSEG and the people of the county.
So when the newly elected assembly person, Paula Kay, and the Senator State Senator Peter Oberacker had that, function up in the legislative chambers where NYSEG came in. Yep. Was Matt anywhere near that?
Yeah, but he was working for NYSEG.
Okay, until I wrote a letter to the editor, maybe 10 people in the county knew that he worked for NYSEG.
There you go.
Okay, so
you want people.
So you want to talk about transparent? The fact that your wife works for the partnership and you gave them money. Okay, I mean, you can recuse yourself to the cows come home. I really don't care.
Well, you can't be on the Economic Development Committee when your wife benefits from the partnership.
From every decision you make.
Every decision you make.
Correct.
He wants to see civility, respect, and transparency return. Well, it was there. What we saw was civility, respect, and transparency leave.
Correct. So one of the funniest things I find about the word transparency, because people change what the word means consistently to fit their own needs. You want to talk about transparent? People. I'm talking about people who know politics backwards and forwards. People who have been elected to some pretty high offices used to say to me, Rob, you're too transparent. You say too much. There were times that I would bring up a resolution, and we chuckled about this a lot of times. And I would say, and they were like, oh, we don't know anything about this resolution. I said, well, you received it on Friday. Today's Thursday, so you had a week to look it over and ask questions.
Any of the commissioners about it.
Correct. And we're going to say, oh, we haven't discussed this yet. I said, no. Let's understand how this works. It's first, second, discuss.
Right.
And they're like, oh, no, we discussed this in the back.
Right.
Nadia said it, Louis said it, Joey said it, Ira said it.
Right.
And they were all like, oh, we don't talk about this up front.
Yeah, nobody told me about this before.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, we discussed this in the open.
Right now.
This is how we do things here. And they thought that was crazy.
Well, they saw, the interesting thing is that they accused you of being a dictator.
No.
When all you were doing was dictating that we follow the rules.
Correct.
Motion, second, discussion.
Discuss. And the fact that we did not discuss things in the back before, and we would actually share our feelings on topics in front of the people and on camera, microphones,
right.
Audience, the whole deal, was appalling to people. And that's what they do now, by the way. Okay? They do the same thing. You want to talk about transparency? You think sending a resolution that hasn't been voted on yet, that hasn't been presented to the public yet, to your coworker so they can write a nasty gram to a fellow legislator on electricity you want to talk about food security? People are having to decide whether to pay their electric bill or food on the table.
Correct.
And that's what's happening right now in this county. And I see it, at my butcher shop every
day.
Single day I see this stuff.
So, folks, once again, Rob, the hour blows by. We wanted to remember Brooksy.
I almost got to Brooksy. I almost did a Brooksy and spoke for 15 minutes on one topic.
Almost did. If you've got an hour or so to kill, just ask Brooksy how you doing.
What do you want for lunch?
Right. So again, our dear friend and colleague will be missed
terribly.
Once again, folks, if you like the content, if you like the spirit, the information that we're conveying, then subscribe. The subscription numbers are going up. We've got to increase the subscriptions up to 1,000. When we get there, we can become interactive. We can do live streaming. And if you disagree, Matt McPhillips disagrees. We've got an empty chair right there, Matt, and a microphone available. Come on in, Matt, because unlike other platforms, we're not going to give only one side. We are open and happy to have anybody come in and debate these topics. We will be respectful. We will give them every opportunity to tell us why we are mistaken or incorrect. So we need you to subscribe. We've got to get the subscribers up. And when you watch us on YouTube, you want to be sure to
smash
that like button. And folks, leave us a comment. Again, there are platforms where people share information about the county, and if the administrator doesn't like the information that's shared, they take it off. And I'm not talking about being vulgar. I'm not talking about being saying things that are not true. I'm talking about just tell us, leave us a comment. Tell us why you do like it. Tell us why you don't like it. Tell us who you'd like us to have on. A number of our guests that we've had over the last now 16 shows have come from those comments. If you want to drop us an email, give us some more detail, ionsullivan@gmail.com. I think everyone knows now that it's EYE on Sullivan
It is.
at gmail.com. You want to do that. And share the link. You listen to us on Spotify, you watch us on YouTube, and I'm surprised most people say they watch us on YouTube, and
I get a lot of Spotify people.
I get a
it's
lot
people
of
in the car.
YouTubes, and I tell them I've got a face for radio, but they're watching it anyway. But share the link so that more people. We want to open the dialogue. We're about 2 months away from the primary for the sheriff. Important. We've got a race coming up for treasurer. We've got other important events coming up that we want you to share so that people get this information. And again, tell us you want us to bring somebody on. We'll bring them on. We'll make them available. So, on behalf of the chairman, Rob Doherty, I am Mike McGuire, thanking you for joining us for this episode of Eye on Sullivan. We'll be back next week with another edition of Eye on Sullivan.